What do you have no sympathy for? One of my old friends. She was a racist and fat-shamed everyone. I once got to donuts and she said damn biggie, and then she started to get mad when I called her out for it. And she calls my friends Nazis whenever they say anything against her, and then proceeded to get mad when we told her to not call someone a Nazi. Then she trauma dumps on everyone. She's half black, she is whiter than the full moon, and then proceeded to cry. And I told her that I don't want to be friends anymore, claiming I was a heartless jerk. I have no sympathy for her. Bullying people, homeless, mentally ill people. They probably treat people better than some rich asshole that's never felt uncomfortable in his life. They might look lazy because they're traumatized by others. But man, I will take an anxious, depressed person over some man that's never understood trouble. 110 of the time. If you have a lot of money, most likely. I never want to be around you either. I'm middle class. I've never met someone that drove anything over a Chevy that I've ever liked over a homeless person. It's the way they treat people, things, others, out of some sorts. And you go, son of a bitch, this has meat in it, and later you find squirrel, raccoon, and a dead possum carcass in the trash can. But you ain't hungry no more, but grateful you ate that day. People who constantly spew sob stories, their entire personality revolves around being miserable, while also refusing to accept they are the ones who keep putting themselves in these situations. Used to have a couple friends like this, where you can't talk about anything positive or negative because they'll just steer the conversation back to their pity party. Learn it the hard way. No amount of advice or help will satisfy them because they don't want to be okay. Their children's benefits money to fund them. Then when that money dries up, they steal from friends for the drugs. And when someone turned their asses in for doing that, they lost custody of their kids. Not only did I not feel sorry for them, I laughed. Well, except that it's a mystery who turned them in. We may never know. I have a hunch who did it, but that's neither here nor there. Still funny as shit though. Entertainment company executives, when they pay for their mistakes, they are never made in good judgment calls to improve the service for the user or to push the industry's potential forward. It is always them screwing up something they had at a chance of making more money. Who I do have sympathy for are the actual workers who get laid off to make it seem like the company is making more money for the investors. Rapists, animal abusers, ableist people, and pedophiles. Anyone who attacks someone vulnerable. Rapists and pedophiles can never be reformed, nor can they be rehabilitated. In the case of pedophiles, that's because there are certain structures in their brains that are literally different. No prison time. Just a lead projectile and the pitch. On first offense. Particularly with pedophiles. People who go broke even after either winning millions in a lottery or getting paid millions during their career in some sport. Had money and you would have been set for life. But what did you do? You blew it all on mansions, sports cars, money buddies, friends who wanted your money and cared nothing about you otherwise, etc. People who always complain about money and yet they spend so much money on unnecessary things. Eens who complain about not having money and yet every month they have to get their nails done, have their hair dyed and styled, and buy new outfits, and I'm like, no wonder why you don't have any money. Political extremism on both sides. Neither side holds the moral high ground, nor the intellectual high ground. We know extreme politics of any leaning leads to death, suffering, and an eventual overcorrection to the other side. Grow up, people, and learn from history. As the saying goes, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Drug addicts and pedos. I don't understand why people are carrying around Narcan to revive drug addicts. That odd if it's accidental like a child or something that's legit. But don't revive obvious addicts that odd. Let them go. And pedos should just be euthanized, period. No second chance. No rehabilitation. Just sorry. You blew it, bye-bye. People who are completely unwilling to accept the world does not revolve around them. More specifically, People who cannot fathom that not everything is about them. Think of people who get pissed about inclusive language existing not used on them. Just existing because it offends them personally, and they don't want it used for them. And I think this is an outdated thing that doesn't really happen anymore. But those bitches who can't afford, don't want to take care of baby animals, so they tie them into bags and throw them into lakes. Also animal abusers in general. If I could beat the shit out of them I would. My late husband's nasty sister. All she does is lie to make herself look good. She hated me from the moment she met me. I am probably the only person who wouldn't let her intimidate me. Every time she ran her mouth about people I'd challenge her. She hated that. Actually I think she's afraid of me. That makes me laugh. Their furniture, and legit Turkish rug in the formal living room, or the skiing vacations over Christmas break, never gave a shit about them, and can't figure out now why they want nothing to do with them. Parents that have children and don't have the means to care for them, use their kids just for government handouts, and then use the money on drugs and stuff for themselves, while the kids are dirty and need new clothes, etc. Like, why couldn't you just use a condom instead of putting kids through such a difficult life? People being jealous of others' financial situation when those people have worked long and hard for what they have. I have relatives who own a company which employs hundreds of people now. But you should see the house, effectively a shack on the site of their first business they lived in for years to help this happen. People who are depressed who put in zero effort to improve their situation. The ones who lay around, complain, and don't exist with absolutely no ambition or drive to grow. To an extent these things are beyond your control. I said zero effort. Of course things will seem hopeless because of your off-putting behavior. People who act like I was young and dumb, quote, excusing them from any accountability. Now obviously some stuff is part of growing up, but if you act like an asshole it's not just cause you were young. Being young and a dick doesn't go away just cause you age. You are still held accountable, so just apologize. People who smash their fingers and then the nail is all back and shit. Worked at a heat treating plant, and we would be working with steel and other metals. Smash my finger so many times. I probably lost a fingernail on at least 5 different fingers. Had steel toe boots, so fuck your toes out to spite. Child molesters who go after literal babies. These people do not deserve protective custody. They be put in general population and true justice for their victims need to be served, especially the complete asshats that have the nerve balls to say, at a 3-year-old baby girl tempted them. Who complain endlessly about their lot in life. But when I suggest a half dozen ways they can improve things I get, oh I can't do that. I don't want to do that. I'm too scared to do that. Etc. etc. Okay. Fine. Be poor and miserable. Just acknowledge that you're choosing to be poor and miserable. Those face tatter having crust kids who ask for $1 in every city in America. How capitalism and taxes are a scam. And how they don't like working for the evil corporations. All while asking you to buy them a beer from a corporation with your capitalist money that's been taxed. People who bring a carry-on suitcase either 1 inch too wide, too tall, or too deep, they make you stuff it into that wireframe box. And if it doesn't fit it gets checked, and if there isn't enough time they get to leave without their luggage, or get into another plane. Reap what you sow. People with student loan debt. First, you can work in public service for a decade and the debt is forgiven. I believe this is still the case. Second, you took out a loan with shitty terms from a shady lender, the government. Dig yourself out like the rest of us have to with our debt. People who got to sit the pandemic out at home on their couches complaining about having to come back to work in person. I got to work through it all, in person, at risk, with no extra pay or consideration. Oh, you have to put pants on and go to the office, cry me a river. Off workers, people who litter, Karens who constantly act for nothing, employers who profit from and exploit their workers, people who actively and loudly despise kids as in wanting to do them harm, people who backstab you or betray you, or in my personal case, People who have gone and talked to befriended my abuser after hearing the whole story as it happened, who also encouraged me to get out because it was abuse. That level of betrayal is so gross to me. People who get STs after not taking any precautions. You raw-dogged another man anonymously behind an Applebee's. Yeah, you have AIDS. She had actively using SOS and you still went in no condom, and now you have syphilis. Maybe this is on you here. Anybody else just repulsed by the crying selfies? Good God, why would you film yourself crying and put it online? Have some self-respect. I remember that grieving nurse dictator. I kinda hated her. Don't like hating people, but stfu. You attention ho. People who can't see past themselves and see respect as nothing but a tool for social mobility. If you cannot bring yourself to care about other people's well-being beyond a transactionary mindset, then I don't care about you or what happens to you. People whose loved ones died of preventable diseases because they didn't get the appropriate vaccine. Your kid dies from polio, measles, tetanus, or whatever because you didn't trust the vaccine. Well, tough shit. I think you should be in jail. Drug addicts. Yeah. Addiction sucks and it's sad seeing the road people go down. But a lot of it is self-inflicted and it's hard to sympathize with those who make those decisions and then put others through hell because of their addiction. If we're playing a multiplayer game and I come across an enemy player and we both spam crouch to show trust, and they later turn around and kill me, I will pull all the blood out of your body just so I have something to drown you in.